And
Streaming and we're recording.
all right. Just to double check, do you know if we have a quorum?
I think so.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very well. Well, I call this meeting to order. Boom. My name is Andrew Evans, and I am here acting as interim one meeting only chair for Rita, because she is not with us today, and neither is Cindy, right? Cindy's not here either. But first things first is to approve the meeting minutes from our May meeting. I'll give everyone a second to look over these, just in case we haven't yet.
Motion to accept as written.
Second?
Second. All right. All in favor? All opposed? We have approved the meeting minutes. So now we will move into our public comments section. Ms. Gladys, would you like to make any public comments?
I'm here for the first time just to try to find out what I can. Partly because of me and some of y'all.
All right.
Y'all have influenced.
Thank you for being here.
So Gladys is, lives at the Downs.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. And so she was at the discussion Friday? Friday.
First Friday, the POA.
And also as an avid gardener and donated swamp milkweed to the Earl Anderson Park Native Plant Project.
Nice. Yes. Also donated swamp milkweed and many others to Honeycutt Food Forest. So that's right. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Gladys. So our action items today are to make nominations for the new vice chairperson. And since we have a quorum, I do believe we will be able to elect them. Do we have anyone who would like to take on that position as vice chairperson? Nose goes? Ah. Was that a hand raise or a wave off?
I'd like to do it.
Okay,
I
perfect.
nominate
perfect.
Eunice.
I second that.
Yes, or, yes.
All right, so all in favor of electing Eunice as the vice chairperson?
Aye.
All right.
I'm abstaining.
Abstaining? Okay, I thought you were going to vote no. All right, well, it looks like the ayes have it. Damn. I would now like to introduce our new vice chairperson, Eunice Leiblacher. Everyone.
Who's second?
Who seconded that move?
It was
Shelley.
Jai.
Yeah, we both made it at the same time. All right, so moving on to our discussion items, we'll start with the working group.
So actually, Andrew,
Yes, sir.
Eunice will now take over the chair.
It was short-lived.
She gets to do the I'm in charge now.
Yeah.
You did a great job, though.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Working groups, the National Wildlife Federation, the certification subgroup. Is there a report?
I mean, we could do it together. Bob and I actually went over and spoke with the first Friday of the POA at the Downs and had a nice time talking to them last Friday. And we just talked about the benefits to the community of joining the National Wildlife Certification Program. We have certified 5 more parks, so now we have 9 altogether that are certified. We had a couple of news programs where we talked about the monarch, and on one of the programs there was a mention of the National Wildlife Federation, well, both of them, and then one mentioned the website and how to sign up. So that's been submitted to the educational goals portion. And then also I got the letter of recommendation signed back from Mayor Halfacre. So that's been submitted to the administration goals. So if we get approved for the letter, then we'll only have 5 more points to complete the education goals. And we now have 121 points out of 200 points for our habitats. So we've made a lot of progress over the past month.
Yes. And do you have a sense of how many yards we still need?
Well, 80.
Yep,
Just
79.
It's 8 yards. That's,
79.
77.
Oh, there you go.
77?
I was at a habitat workshop that the South Carolina Wildlife Federation put on in Anderson yesterday, and I know we got 2 yards yesterday. So that paperwork should be coming through.
can we use that as an educational event, what you were at?
Can we, as in me, or,
Um,
oh,
That one was in Anderson, and it was put on by the National Wildlife Federation.
right, the South Carolina Wildlife Federation, who's the subset of the National Wildlife Federation. And then they also took us on a field trip to Green Pond Landing in Anderson. If you've never been to it, it's phenomenal, right on the lake, Lake Hartwell. And they have installed in this brochure, and there's more there if you'd like to take one at the end, has a great little, there's this blended native plants and non-native plants, but it's called Carolina Fence Gardens, which incorporates a state flower, state stone, state bird habitat, state butterfly, state grass. And I thought it'd be a really neat thing to maybe, if there's a full sun situation in a park that would make sense for this here in Clemson, it'd be great to install that.
I've wanted to do that for years.
Now we can.
Yeah, that would be.
You pick out the spot, we'll
Well,
round
and
up
I
the rest.
wonder if you could write something up for the Facebook pages, and I suggest people do it in their yard. I mean, that's kind of neat.
I know some of the local schools have them, have those Carolina fence gardens.
Well, you know, people have those stones that are in the shape of South Carolina and put the plant, I mean, seems like that'd be a great thing to get in the social media from the city.
That was all I have, Bob. Do you have anything?
It occurred to us at the discussion Friday that maybe somebody going to the Downs with a computer, if anybody wanted help certifying
That's
their
great.
property. I think 7 or 8 people took flyers, so they sounded very interested.
Did you hear that, John?
I didn't. I'm sorry.
Well, at the
There's 7 or 8
discussion at the
people took
Downs
flyers.
Friday, it just occurred, it came up in discussion about maybe having somebody be there, announced with a computer if anybody wanted help,
At the Clemson.
going
Downs.
through the certification process. And, I'm sure-
Ann said she could get us the room that we were in, use the little side room, and folks could come in if they wanted to get signed up.
so maybe the subcommittee should
I did mine
try to
old
set a
school.
date.
I did mine old school.
On paper? Well, but I mean, you could bring the paper and you could look at the computer and you could help.
So is Ann coordinating a time, or is she looking for us to
She's
set?
willing to, yeah.
You could
She's
pick a
willing to.
time, and it can be in the daytime. Is that something you might be willing to do, John?
As long as somebody else does all the work, yeah, I'll show up.
All right, committee.
Yeah, okay, well, that's,
If somebody hasn't come, somebody could work with Ann. Just-
I'd be willing to show up as well.
I could do, I mean, depending on my work, that's the thing, is like, on the
Yeah.
work day, or could it be done on a weekend? Like a Sunday afternoon?
We'll talk to Ann and see what she thinks would be the best time. She might have a sense.
Okay.
I'm guessing the best time, and we could ask Gladys, is when there's already a meeting after that.
Right.
And maybe even like our first Friday, like what y'all do.
So what time is that first Friday?
That was at 4:30 on a,
Okay.
But they could even be here to that.
yeah.
but it was real social, so, yeah.
Yeah, we stayed the whole time and partied, didn't we, Bob?
Well, the first Friday in July is July 4th. So,
Yeah, and maybe talking with Ann, some of the people, we maybe even remember their names that we talked with, and we can contact them individually, and they can help spread the word.
There is a bit of a conflict that we talked about the spraying the mosquitoes. And a lot of folks are concerned about, well, I'm gonna do this certification, but the city is continuing to come through and spray. So
Right.
I think there's a lot of concern, and they're getting names together to,
And I am I'm one of those. I mean, that's why I've held off on this. But I am on the no spray list, which I was not even aware until recently that there was such a thing. And I don't think other people are aware that there is a no spray.
I wasn't aware there was a no spray list.
How does that even practically happen?
You have to contact the
If it's,
city.
but I mean,
But
it's
if
not
you're
an
next door
individual
neighbor,
person
yeah.
walking.
Yeah,
Isn't
you're
it
driving
a
through the
spray?
neighborhood, right?
I think the way it works for the Downs, if I'm not mistaken, is you have to have a certain percentage of the homeowners to get on that list before they'll stop spraying the whole neighborhood. And I can't remember what that percentage is,
And I think they even kind of backed off from that.
really.
You know, they were kind of afraid of, well, what if someone contacted, some kind of illness and, so they're afraid of being sued or something.
So much for organic gardening practices, if the
Right.
city's coming by and spraying.
Well, one can call the city and ask to be on the no spray list, and maybe that should be encouraged.
One household,
You
you
can,
can?
but it may not do anything, is what we're saying. 'cause
They'd
they-
stop spraying 10 feet before your property and
Well,
start it.
and I'm not sure they do. Another approach might be, so for example, I live on Kingsway and talk to all my neighbors and ask them to do it, and then if the whole street or all but one house on the street
Yeah.
did it. But I think it might be useful for people to call and say, please put me on the no spray list, whether it has an effect or not, to let the city know hundreds of people don't want to be sprayed, right?
And who do you contact? Public Works? Who do you contact?
If you want to say that out loud, we can put it in the minutes when you get to it.
Is the no spray list number?
So do we know what department with the city heads up the no spray?
She's looking up the
She's looking
number
up the
and we'll
number.
try to call. We'll put the number in the
Well,
minute.
not just the number, do we have like a contact for who's in charge?
That's what, we'd have to call the number and ask.
I called in to the city, I called in because Mitchell Swaney's name was listed. I left a message with his number, but I received a call back from Jordan Popham, Popham, and his number is 864-784-2144.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Jordan Popham, 864-784-2144.
Yes.
Okay, we'll put that in the minutes, and any of you feel free to call and we'll see what happens and talk to your neighbors.
Yeah.
I also put a little homemade sign over my mailbox that says that my address is on the no spray list.
Do you do that on the day of, or do you?
That night.
Oh, that's a great idea. I like that. Could you send us a picture of that and we could put that on Facebook too?
I took a pizza box.
I know, but still send us a picture because if we post to social media, they want a picture. So send that.
This is homemade, this is not.
Okay, all right, well,
That's even better.
Yeah, it shows,
Grassroots?
yes,
When you were
exactly.
asking about whether or not it mattered, the guy I was talking with said that it's usually the same guys, and so they supposedly know where to spray and where not to spray.
Okay,
the same people do it every time. Okay.
usually, but if it's just common knowledge and not, I'm curious as to how well documented it is.
Well, I've called and been on the no spray list for many, many years, and I have a house like this, 2 streets, and I get sprayed. So I don't know how effective it is, but I do encourage people to call.
I do think if we are to make a social media post, it would be really good to include other methods of controlling mosquitoes, because they can be a problem,
Absolutely.
especially around here. One thing I know is encouraging dragonfly habitats, and it might be good to outline a couple things on that, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Bat houses and hummingbirds, that's their primary source of protein, are mosquitoes.
Oh, I love hummingbirds.
And just dumping the water out of your containers
Yeah.
around your,
Right,
Yeah.
keeping moving water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reading about the wildlife certification, they talk about using puddling ponds, and I said, well, wait a minute.
Well, just refreshing those.
Just refreshing those.
Well, then again, you get natural predators that come in and it's their food source, so dragonflies. So if you like dragonflies and hummingbirds and other things, it's good to get
Excellent idea.
eat something.
Encouraging local biodiversity. I like it. Some tips and tricks.
Okay. Is there any other questions for the Wildlife Certification Group? Okay, Energy Efficiency Committee, we did not meet this month, so no report, but our next meeting is June 17th at 3 o'clock on Zoom. Tree Preservation Group?
So the only thing that I've been able to accomplish is getting 3 different lots from the, what was that website you sent me?
The tax, Pickens County tax,
Yes.
I can't remember
I
the,
think it's GIS.
GIS, yes.
Thank you for sharing.
That's a
that.
great tool.
It's a really good tool.
I use it a lot for right-of-ways to
It
tell.
tells you who owns the property too, and that's
Yes.
something I always wonder whenever I see things happening. I'm like, I wonder who owns it. So I went on there and I got screenshots of Elaine's house as well as 2 other people, and I have them formatted so that they can go out and mark them and annotate what trees are on their property that they want to add to the tree preservation list. But I need to find an 11 by 17 printer to use for that because Elaine said she wanted it big. So
Well, I mean, there's one in the university, and you're a student.
yes, I'll have to ask around and figure out where.
I can print it for you.
You could? Okay, I can share those files with you then.
Okay.
And I've talked to other people who are kind of on the fence about it, and as soon as I get confirmation from them, I'll have even more to print out. So, some trees to be preserved. Also, I've been thinking a lot about these old growth trees in Milliken that we discussed last month, and I would absolutely love to start moving on that because old growth is just like so cool,
Yeah.
right? So, if anyone has that information and could send it to me in an email,
Are you talking about Pacolet Milliken, that project?
I have no idea.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that's what we were talking
Okay.
about, yeah.
I do have the contact for Jennifer, I can't remember her last name, but she is the property manager for that, for Pacolet Milliken.
Okay.
And she would be the one to talk to, and she's very environmentally conscious. So she would be the best one to talk to.
And that's something that we could put into the tree preservation trust? Or
That I
the-
don't know.
Probably in Anderson County.
Well, some of it's not,
No, some of it's
because
not.
our whole neighborhood, that's in Clemson.
And I'm not sure where the annexation process is on that development, but I know that was in the plans to annex. I think it already has been, because it pushed the city limits out past, what is that, Pendleton Finishing? Some of it's going to Pendleton, and some of it's going to the city of Clemson.
Would tree preservation, and I have one more thing about the National Wildlife Federation.
Okay. Any other questions on tree preservation?
I do have one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to change our name. My name, I suppose. But tree preservation and watershed management. I've been doing a lot of work talking to people who own land, specifically at the Downs. I've even brought in a professional who does stream restoration. I've reached out to, is it Ethan Barnett?
Ethan Barnett.
He's out of town right now, got the automatic email, but I've reached out to him, and I'm about to reach out to the Watershed Consortium he was talking about, whenever he was here, because there's going to be action taken. It's just a matter of how much backing we can get, what we're able to do. So we've started with live staking already for areas that have erosion issues, and if we can get financial backing, which I think, was it Cindy who had that
Grant. It's
grant
passed.
opportunity? It has passed, but she told me to fill it out anyway. So I'm in the process of filling out that application, as well as reaching out to the Community Foundation. I've spoken with them about a fiscal sponsorship, I believe, because it needs to be given to a 501. So we would work with the Community Foundation and a couple of other groups to start looking into taking care of our watersheds around here and start with community-based, grassroots projects. I'm very excited about that.
As an FYI, South Carolina Native Plant Society does grants, I think, twice a year. And I know they've done Reedy River restoration things where the grant funds might be up to $1,000. So just to bear that in mind as a possible source.
I am in contact with Rick Huffman about a lot of this. So he's been able to give me some great advice on that. So, or we could call it like Natural Resources Working Group or whatever. The name doesn't really matter. But.
It's a working group. I think we can change it however we want. Am I right about that?
Yep.
Okay, so Andrew, I favor the shorter version, so give a name to Nancy to write down.
What did I just say?
Tree preservation and watershed management.
But then you said natural
Natural
resources.
Let's do that one.
Okay.
Andrew, remind me in an email to get you Jennifer's contact, but also I have a part of our eco service studies that we went through a couple of years ago. It gave us a map with the health of our watersheds inside the city of Clemson. So there are 2 watersheds that are very close to becoming unhealthy. One of them is downtown, and the other one is near Patrick Square.
Is
So
it in
you'll-
the downs or behind Patrick Square? Where
It's- It is pretty much in that Patrick Square area right there, which is also pretty red hot on the heat map. But remind me to get that to you, because those are areas of concentration. And they do a formula of tree cover and impervious surface. That's how they come up with the health of that.
That is perfect. I mean, it's not, but it's good that you have that resource.
Most of them are pretty healthy. I think there are 6.
Good.
Another nonprofit is the Sierra Club. I have the contact on that. They also have money. And if you're talking about doing something in Clemson Downs, they of course have a nonprofit.
I was not aware of this.
Isn't that right? Your the shared properties and I think that if it's on Clemson Downs, you might speak with our contact there to see if there might be a nonprofit, because that'd be ideal.
That would be ideal.
Yeah. Anything else on our, I already forgot, Natural Resources Committee?
I think I'm
Working
good with
group.
that. I'm good.
Anybody else questions? Okay, John, you want to go back to certification?
Yeah, the person who ran the workshop, her name is Savannah Jordan. She's Associate Wildlife Biologist, Habitat and Education Manager. I don't know what your plans are for once the city of Clemson achieves that certification, but she said she's a statewide person for South Carolina Wildlife Federation. She said she'd be happy to be here and talk and do a presentation. So, like I said, I'm hoping there'll be some form of celebratory acknowledgement once we hit that mark. And
I would love for her to come do a council presentation.
okay.
At the very least. And I think we had talked about once the city, once the community gets this certification, then it should move into more of a grassroots community. I think the city's certifying the parks and all of that and helping with the initial effort, but once certification happens, then it would be nice if it were more of a community effort.
We could start by throwing a party.
Yes, that helps.
Okay, staff report, Tony.
All right. Big thing I wanted to tell you guys was Public Works Director Cody Lingerfeld will be here to speak in August, and he can tell us all about mosquito spraying and recycling and all of the things Public Works.
So can we do like a big invite? Come to our sustainability,
Anytime. Yeah, for any of the meetings.
yeah, just like making people aware that we do have this. And it might be something that you start off with, kind of, if you're worried about, I mean, there are a lot of things that have, are not going well for recycling and sustainability. So this is, these are the good things that we're actually doing stuff. So,
Yeah, I will,
okay.
for our meeting.
So
August.
that's August.
August is Cody, and September, I talked to Joan today at the Art Center, and she wants to come September and talk about bike racks, public art bike racks. This is Joan Rossini. She's the director of the Art Center.
So that'll be August 13th for Cody and September 10th for
Joan.
John, thank you.
Right. So I was thinking that one of those two meetings would be the community discussion.
We're not to that part of the agenda yet, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
We can move them.
Yep.
But thank you.
I talked to Andy, and we're gonna do a submission for the Green Crescent Trail presentation recommendation in July.
Okay,
So one of those two council dates, I just have to do I just talked to him this afternoon.
so that's our motion that we passed. We haven't taken to council yet, so that'll happen either July 7th or 21st.
And I know, and I'm hearing through the grapevine that the city engineer is getting ready to present some and talk about some of these Green Crescent Trail projects. And as far as my list, I did my list a little bit different. Hopefully it's a little easier instead of just the
I
bullet
like
points.
it. It's much easier.
Just broke things out a little bit, and I didn't include everything that's going on. A lot of storm cleanup. I think we've just had a lot of trees that were damaged, root systems that were damaged by Helene, and they're finally giving way and coming over. We cleaned up 6 trees just in 2 days this week, just from the storms this weekend. So just a lot of storm damage with the trees, unfortunately. A lot of regular maintenance this time of year. Had a couple of good events at the paddle jam, went really well at 12 Mile, as well as the open water swim meet. Both of those were really, really big, successful events. It's great to have that park for that.
Where do we learn about those events? Because those were both something I would love to go to.
Yeah, they were pretty well publicized on the city pages. Paddle Jam that's Brandon Cruz, and he it wasn't a city event. Neither one of these are city events.
Right.
And he basically publicized that through his socials.
Cruise Outdoors, social media.
Okay. Because I just started following the city. You guys post some good stuff.
Yeah, it's gotten more presence here lately. The skate park is pretty much done. The skate park itself, we are just trying to keep people off of it. Skaters are notorious for DIY and getting after it, I'll say. So we've had to run a few people off of it. But if they'll just be patient, we've got a little bit of fine grading and some sidewalks to install in the next phase. And then the fences will be moved to the next construction phase, which will be the picnic shelter itself. And they'll open all that area up and they can have at it. Just a little more patience, but I understand the temptation. Pickleball courts are getting ready to be reconfigured. There's not enough room between the fences and the baselines right now, so they're going to be turned and they'll be 8 feet on either side now, so they'll be much more user-friendly. The fences in between the courts will come out, and it'll be much improved. Let's see, anything of note? Oh, the Abernathy redevelopment kickoff went really well. Just kind of focusing on, how we want to approach that. There's a lot of optics involved with that, obviously, because the hub is right there. The intent is that there will be clear, distinct delineation between the development and the park, even though there will be a green space that kind of blends there. But also there was a lot of talk about preserving the original intent of the park, the natural resource element of the park. The part that will be developed will be that front part, which is already kind of developed. That's the big change. And it's not like there'll be a Ferris wheel or anything like that going in, or an amphitheater. It'll just be maybe I'm not sure even if the pavilion will get an upgrade, but there'll be a lot of upgrades there.
When did that happen? The redevelopment kickoff, was that open to the public?
It was not. This was just in-house, meeting with the contractor, the firm who's going to do the redesign. So there will be several public meetings coming up. So get those dates and everything will be publicized, and I'll be sure to let you know.
Yes, please.
Yeah. But let's see. Clemson One Development, just kind of real quick. I keep going over there and meeting them about their trees. There were some trees that were planted too deep. There was trees that were crooked. There was trees that were halfway dead. So they did a lot of work and got a lot of it straightened out, but we still have a little bit to go. But they won't get my approval until everything's good. Also had an inspection on the Grange and their trees. That's the first time I've ever been over there. And they look pretty good for the most part, but we had a little list of things to go through. Pulling the mulch away from the trees. We had a couple of dead ones to replace, but they were actually installed pretty well. We talked about the community engagement, had a couple of good news programs. It was really cool to publicize that effort and the volunteerism. We really have some great volunteerism in the city of Clemson that doesn't get enough recognition. And I think that's about it. Future plans, final inspection of Vickery trees, got some tree pruning to do, and volunteer projects, Old Central, trash pickup, some 12-mile limb pickup, and then there's a group that's going to work with John out at Earl Anderson Park on his efforts out there. That's pretty much it, guys.
Thank you. Any questions for Tony? Okay, last month we talked about having a sustainability summit. So we have two things to look at. One would be the verbiage. Andrew submitted a verbiage which you can find in the minutes. And then I submitted to you some suggestions of that which you can find in your email. And then the other thing we would want to choose is a date to potentially do this annually. Why don't we start with the verbiage? And that's at the top half of the minutes, that's page 2. Would you like me to read you what you got in your email, or do you all have that with my suggestions?
Was it just an edit in places? Or was it?
Yeah, I edited a number of things, yes. I'm looking for it. Did you all get that for me? It was when Tony asked for agenda items, I sent that back through to everybody. And I sent it the day after the meeting, after Andrew's.
Thank you for fixing the minutes.
Oh, yeah. I meant to say there were a couple of small edits on the minutes.
And I totally blitzed out.
All right.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
So do you want me to read that to you, or?
Is this finalized, what I'm reading here? It seems like there's a couple things in parentheses. Do we have answers to those, or do you have a full version that we could go ahead and vote for approval?
I didn't print that out, and the things in parentheses are simply my suggestions, or I took out your things.
Okay.
Let's see, I guess I have to find it. I'm sorry.
June 4th.
Yes. I think if we have a version that's complete, I liked all of your suggestions and edits.
Okay,
So we could vote to approve it and then work on setting a date? Or I don't know if it needs a vote to approve.
I think it probably does, so let me just read. I can find it. Here's what it says. The edited version, I'll just read it to you, and you have it all in your email. Nancy, I think you've got that. Annual gathering of sustainability-focused groups and persons to cultivate stronger collaboration and shared vision among sustainability-minded individuals and organizations across Clemson. The Clemson Sustainability Committee will host a public matchmaking-style gathering in late summer or early fall, or of course we could insert the date. This event will serve as an open mic and networking session where each participant, whether a community representing a community group, institution, or simply a personal passion, will be invited to give a 30 to 5 minute talk. I suggested instead of talk, we might want a different word there. We don't really want presentations. And then I suggested this goal statement be in bold. So I suggest 30 or 5 minute presentation on what they do and what they care about. So that was my edit. Then in bold, the goal is to foster visibility, identify allies, and spark partnership across the sustainability landscape. Through this gathering, we aim to build community momentum, spotlight the work of groups working in Clemson to protect the earth, and circulate a dynamic contact list of local change makers and resources to empower ecological stewardship here in Tigertown.
I like it. The only thing I might want to add, just because I've been talking to the Community Foundation, and my list of people I want to invite is not just limited to the city boundaries, would be to say something like across greater Clemson. I really like the way they do that at the Community Foundation.
So in the first sentence.
I like that.
Y'all okay with that?
I like that, yeah.
All right, so do we need a motion to approve this? I don't think so.
So do we have a date on it?
No, that'd be
Okay.
the next thing.
Okay.
So would we do it as the summit, like, it wouldn't be at a meeting like this, it would be a separate thing,
So our proposal was once a year to, instead of sitting up here, put tables down there, sit around them and do this in place of a meeting. And we would want to pick a month significantly, we talked about having it significantly far away from the sustainability event in September 2026.
Right.
So that we could sort of generate some support of that event. So we wouldn't want to have it in August 2026.
What sustainability event in September?
At the Botanical Gardens.
I thought that was in March or May.
yeah.
Yeah, it's in the spring.
May 2026?
Yeah.
It's in May.
So
So-
theirs is in the spring. They're doing a springtime
May
thing.
2026. So
I
we,
suggest we do a fall time thing. The only issue which I'm dealing with is that football season is in the fall. And bye week changes every year. So it would be very difficult to set a time or a month if bye week is in, November or
what's
October.
bye week?
Where we don't have a football game.
Oh, but this is on a Tuesday night. It's not a Saturday.
And we would be meeting like
We just
we'd
meet
just be using the
at
meeting
6:30
Okay.
on a Tuesday night. So I don't know that that matters,
I guess it does.
but I'm not sort of in touch with football, so.
The only thing maybe would be if it's an away game or a home game, if people were gonna travel for that next game. But
On a Tuesday
I think a
night?
Tuesday or Wednesday though would be okay.
I think so.
Should be
And
fine.
I think like October might be good because September is still kind of getting in the swing of things. People are, busier, I think, with beginning of school.
October has that good.
It's got and then this would be good to like get people excited about May at the
Right.
university.
Absolutely. And we
Okay.
could tell people how to overwinter certain things.
Yeah.
Hey, don't cut your, stuff that's
Yeah.
tall
Leave
and
your
dead.
leaves.
Leave your leaves.
Yep, yeah.
All right, so we're talking about October 14th at 6:30 here. Is that what we're
Yeah.
suggesting?
I
I
like
will say,
We probably meet on Wednesdays.
oh, sorry, right, it's Wednesday, you're right,
Second Wednesday-
15th.
The second Wednesday is the 8th.
8th, October 8th. Sorry, I've been saying that wrong all night. Thank you. October 8th. I will say that will set up for us 3 months in a row where we won't be able to conduct much business, such as what we're doing tonight. We'll have a speaker in August, a speaker in September. We won't have a meeting in October. So our next time to have a meeting like this where we can get business done will be November.
With the meeting in August, remind me who the speaker is for that?
Cody.
Will that take place the entire meeting or?
No,
will it be
but, you know, whenever we have a speaker, it's a good hour or so, and then we have a half hour left.
Yeah.
And so we could try to ask them to be shorter, those two speakers, yeah.
Yes.
What was Cody, what was?
It just really depends on the interaction. A lot of times there's questions and
Right.
discussion and that.
We had sort of talked about every other month, we'd have a meeting like this with no speaker, and this just worked out that way when they're available, so. So I don't know if we'll have a lot of business, we have to conduct motions and such, but, okay. All right, so the proposal, I would like a motion, would somebody like to give that? I move that we
have a sustainability event for the community on October 8th.
Sustainability Summit on
Summit.
October 8th at 6:30 here, using the verbiage
Using the verbiage that,
that is edited that I just
yes,
read.
that, yeah.
And I think I might leave out for the community, because it's actually not for the community. The community can attend as they attend all our meetings, but it's for the groups that have the personal passion or the, you know, we don't want just
Yeah.
anybody to come up and talk. We want people who are a member of a group or have a
For
personal
the movers and shakers.
the movers and shakers, as in the verbiage. Okay, so we have a motion by Shelley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? One discussion that we might need to consider is we'll need to invite people. How are we doing on our list of invitees? How many people do you have listed?
Same as the last 4 months.
Remind me,
I've
William.
added 3 or 4.
Okay, plus 3. So we probably now have 6.
6 groups
With
plus.
the addition of 4, that might bring us
And-
to 6.
Is this one, I had said I would contact Jacob at the university. So this is one we would want him there, or somebody from
What does
there.
Jacob do at the university?
He's over the recycling, he's over,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And you
Him
have
Lizzie.
Jennifer Gorey, Sustainability Committee. I sent that to you.
Yes, that would have been on there.
The composting people from the university would be great. for our
Clemson
food.
Compost. I have that. In fact, I have it right here. I think I can give it.
So what I'll do is I'll send out, because it's a Google Doc or Google Sheets, so it's editable. I will send that out tonight, and we'll just each have a section where we can put our, John did really good getting the columns, so we have like the organization, the person, the way to contact them. So we'll each have 4 or 5, if you want, people, and we'll have that list put together, and then we'll send out an email, which
I don't understand what you mean. I'm sorry. We'll
It's
have 4 or 5 people what?
per person, so per one of us. If you want, you can only do
To
one.
do what?
To reach out to invite.
So the first issue is the names of the groups. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can't assign me 4 groups if we don't know the names of these groups.
Right, whereas I'm assigning you 4 slots, and you name them, and then.
Well, I've submitted 4, so I've done it.
Okay, well, there we go.
And you've submitted 4.
Right.
And with Jacob, Lizzie, I don't know if anybody knows her, but she, I was working with her because I was trying to get recycling in all athletic facilities. And she has written, like I can send it out to you guys. It's like a game day recycling plan.
Mm-hmm.
So she would be great to talk to too, because anytime we have a city event, you know, she's got like this whole plan on how you do things.
So what we need from you, Shelley, is her name, her
Yeah.
email address, and her phone number.
Okay, I got them all.
Actually, Andrew said he'll send you a link to the Google Sheet,
Yeah.
and you can add it yourself if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Yep,
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you, the ones you submitted, if you could add those to the sheet as well.
Well, I gave you.
I'll just send the link to you, but they should already be on there.
Okay. So with that, we'll be able to do an automated email from the column
Yeah.
to those emails that we put in there.
So we need this done relatively soon, right? We can't keep how's it going? But in order to have the summit in October, we've got to invite people at some point, maybe August.
I like it.
Yeah.
So we can work together in the email chains to get this finished, and then we can make a motion to go ahead and send that mass email next meeting. Does that work, or should we do it sooner?
Yeah, are we meeting in July? Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we need a motion, but we've
That'd be a
already
good
just,
working,
Yeah.
we don't have a speaker, that'd be a good time to get some things done.
no speaker,
No
right?
speaker.
Right. Okay. All right, anything else on this item?
What is this item?
The Sustainability Summit? And that's-
Just tangential to that, Dr. Hamilton made a presentation to the Native Plant Society a couple weeks ago. When I was talking to him about the Botanical Garden Sustainability Summit, he added a caveat. He said, well, I'm still waiting to see if the funding's coming through, or the grant. So it's not
It's not so.
100% that they're having it. I think it is, but I think it looks really, really good, but it's not yet finalized.
Right, and I think this could be a springboard to get the community excited about that.
Yeah.
And that wrapped up. I have faith that Botanical Gardens event will happen. So,
He made an incredible presentation about the sustainability efforts that the garden is going through as far as seed preservation and the networking he's done in the Southeast and across the United States and now international. The Botanical Garden is going to be a huge component of sustainability efforts.
Absolutely. That's something that we as the city of Clemson should try and tap into, especially for like landscaping. He's very, there was an expert at that meeting, the Native Plants meeting, who's an expert on city trees. I don't remember if that was Rick, but city street trees. He's very passionate about picking the right tree, as I'm sure you are. So there would be some good ideas floating around with that one.
I was also mentioned, I think it was at that meeting, how advanced Georgia is on all their efforts, that the DOT is required now to use all native species in their immediate, I mean, it's incredible what they're doing right next door. So,
Cool, thank you.
So I'm thinking of people, and I also have a friend, I don't know if you know Matt Huddleston.
Mm-hmm.
He is working on, I found this quite interesting. He did work on a grant, and it may start again, on fuel for, and I had no idea about this, like small airports, like Oconee Airport, those small planes still have lead in their fuel. And so there's probably lead in, the soil and water and things like that.
There's a lot of really bad additives in airplane fuel right now. So if you have someone who's on top of that,
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
Okay, I'll
To
contact
have and
you. Okay,
get the local community aware.
okay,
I love that.
okay.
Well, and there's Terry Walker, a retired Clemson professor who does the oil to gasoline, right? And then at Clemson University, they do that too, like oil.
I'm actually working on rebuilding the trailer for biodiesel. So we're switching it to an enzymatic reaction, which is a little bit more complicated. So it'll take a minute for it to get up and running. But when that is up and running, a partnership with the university to get oils, if we could get an endorsement.
Well, and of course, we've done that in the past. Terry used to pick up the oil from every restaurant in Clemson.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are we on new business or no?
Not yet. All right, so we're done with the Sustainability Summit? Okay, so Rita, who's not here, perhaps we should table this, had suggested doing a walk with the Green Crescent Trail led by this group. And again, in my July 4th email, I thought to help this happen, I put in some suggested bullet points and tasks and a date. Shall we discuss that now or wait till Rita's here? I suggested somewhat randomly July 26th. It's the hottest time of the year, so.
Yeah.
Make that walk count.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter when we do it. So shall we table it?
Survival walk,
What time of day do you have that as?
5 o'clock.
5 a.m.
Block it 9 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah, I think maybe we push that one.
All right, so if this could be put, we'll try to remember on a future agenda. It's probably better to do in the fall, but as we all know, the fall is the busiest time of year in Clemson. So.
Right. Which is difficult, for,
So-
especially the people I've been wanting to invite to this walk are Clemson University planning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of plans with the African American Museum and the graveyard. They want to connect that with the trail system.
And they have a grant, right?
And they have grants.
Right.
And we have the Great Crescent Trail.
Right. Yeah, and Chad's on that too. So Nancy, what if you pulled in on my July 4th email, this somewhere into the minutes? I know it was June 4th, that suggestion or draft, and then we have it in the minutes for next time's discussion. I sent it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Which section? I'm sorry.
It's right below the edited section.
Yeah.
So
All
right
right.
here, Saturday,
So we'll
July
table
26th.
that.
Okay.
All right, now we have open discussion and new business. Anyone have new business?
Yes. I am very excited to let you guys know that the Delish Sisters kitchen, where I work sometimes, is very open to starting to compost. And my club, Students for Stewardship, has organized, or is in the process of organizing, we're still working out the date, a tour of the composting facility at Clemson. And I think this is something that if we can get the city involved in as well, we can have a program getting downtown kitchen food scraps to the Clemson University compost facility. And if that was something that funding maybe came from multiple pots, being the university and the city, just to get a truck to take it weekly, or maybe bi-weekly, depending on how many people or businesses are on board, I think that could be a fantastic program that Clemson could lead the way in.
Would you want to do a presentation to the council about this?
Yes, absolutely.
So just my thoughts on that, we might want to talk to Cody Lingenfeld first. And there is a company that does that doesn't cost anything. There are probably several companies, Gooder, and I really think the city should do that for all businesses, not just downtown. What Gooder does is they'll pick up food that you can eat and give it to people who could eat it, and pick up food that you can't eat and can take it to our composting facility, and that could be a single citywide thing. And then if we could wrap in the oils to make diesel, and these are picked up by say Uber drivers, but what the city or whoever does it, the university gets, is they get a report both on what was donated and how much carbon they saved. And so that's how this company makes money. So a lot of how it saves money or how they fund themselves that people want to report on. You know, the university wants to be able to say, we're reaching our targets for being carbon free, and this company lets them do that, and the city could have that too. So I don't think we need to buy a truck or do that, but there are companies that are doing this, so I can
What's the name of the
talk
company?
about that.
What's the name of the company?
G-O-D, good, and the letter R, and I have a video, and I've talked to them. Cody is on my list of people to talk to. Maybe I'll talk to him before.
Do they operate in this area in Greenville or anything like that?
US-wide, yes. And they handle where it goes to. So for example, Clemson Community Care can't take cooked dinners, so they get it to a place. So that their function, their goal is to take food out of the landfill and put it into people. And if it can't go into people, then it goes into compost, right? So they're doing that nationwide.
I know our Daily Bread in Seneca will take.
Yeah, many places will. That is absolutely no problem. Finding places that will take the food is not a problem.
Yeah. Is the university still doing that with their dining? I know they were doing that with the dining halls for a while.
The Clemson Compost is getting one of the dining halls food and making Clemson compost out of it.
Well, for a while, they were sending it out to people who could take food.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't believe so.
Okay. When,
Yeah.
yeah,
And the
Corey Green
compost-
was doing that.
Compost is very hit or miss with the university. I mean, sometimes we have compostable plates, but a lot of times they still go in the trash, which is very frustrating.
Well, so the way to sell Gooder and this type of thing is to sell the city on, would you like to save some of your landfill fees? That's what sells it. We could save you thousands of dollars a year on landfill fees. And by the way, we could feed people.
And you said this doesn't cost money for the city?
Right, right.
They just make money from, how did you say? I mean, or it doesn't cost anyone any money. And
Well, I'm
things
not
get
gonna
better?
give a report on Gooder, but Gooder's one of many companies that are doing this.
Okay.
And it exists. It's not something we have to create. So I would like the city to do that. I've been talking about it for a long time. And I've been told Cody's the person to talk to, so I'm gonna try to meet with him before he comes in August. And just give him a heads up on him and have him look into it. Because
I'd love to help.
his incentive, to incentivize, what's it called? The food service is called?
Aramark.
To incentivize Aramark in the city of Clemson is to say, would you like to save some money on how much you spend on trash? And they would say yes, and that's what it takes. Mostly companies say yes.
Right. So my only concern is this being an external force coming into what we're trying to develop as a circular economy, where we have food and then we have fresh compost that then we can give back to the people of the city. If they make the money all from selling the compost back to
No, they would take the compost to Clemson's facility. They don't want to make compost. They're not interested in selling compost. They just are the delivery system.
They're just a delivery.
They would take the compost to Clemson Compost. They would take the food to whoever wants it, and they would find the places. I mean, Clemson Compost would have to say, I want it. And I will tell you that they have a limit.
They're very small.
Right.
So
at some point, they'll say that's more than we can take. But, yeah. But
Awesome.
they're not interested in selling you any of that back.
well, I'm really on board with this, and I'd love to work with you to.
Well, so
to
you
present
and
this.
me and Cody should meet
Okay.
before August, and with Gooder probably.
Sweet.
If we have any micro farms in the area, they might
Absolutely.
overflow.
Yeah.
Yes,
Tell them,
right.
hey, here's where you can come in and
We
pick up.
we do, and I have the contacts for that with Cafe, so Clemson Area Food Exchange would probably know all of the 50 local farms, which I hope is on your list.
Not yet.
Okay, well then I didn't submit that yet, yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so we'll put that in as something you and I are gonna do. All right, any other new business?
The only other thing I wanted to mention is no Clemson sustainability report because we're not meeting again until August.
Okay,
We are not meeting?
Clemson, the University Sustainability Commission,
Understood.
no meeting until August.
Did you find any information out about the hang tags, like if we can put?
Yes, I did. They are getting, I talked to Cody,
Yeah,
and he said they are getting ready to do away with the hang tags, because the hang tags basically tell the schedule. He said what they're wanting to go to, what they've wanted to go to the past couple of years are magnets that you can put on your refrigerator with the schedule. And that saves them from having to print and do the paper and the hang tags and all that. So that may be going away.
Okay.
It's in the budget right now. And so I think it just needs to go through second reading,
So we can squeeze some in there.
possibly,
I
Well,
mean,
possibly
or-
before they go away.
why not?
or is there a magnet that that's the thing, I mean, I'm not a creative designer, but is there a magnet that could go with that, with a short little thing on, calling, for cardboard? Cardboard pickup, please call.
I'm sure those magnets are blank right now.
But I'm wondering how much room and how big, and would that be a separate, would there be two,
We could have a little cardboard box at the bottom and say, call this number for cardboard pickup.
I think Cody's
Yeah.
gonna be a busy man,
I
actually.
know.
He'll never want to come back to this meeting again.
But I would like to, I think that's a good idea to give him a heads up about what he may be discussing here, and that would be another one.
Yeah, I can see when Cody comes that we could talk an hour easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They cover a lot of things.
And what's his title?
He's the Public Works Director.
Oh, yeah. Is there a city, just reminds me, is there a city person besides yourself, an employee that should come to our sustainability summit? Think about it, you can let us know.
Yeah.
The mayor? We can invite the mayor? Or
He'll probably come anyway, but yeah,
Definitely needed, yeah.
leadership would be nice to be, if there was some leadership that was present.
chairs?
What about that, what's the project leadership that the city has, that community members can apply to do?
Like Leadership Clemson.
Leadership Clemson,
Class?
invite,
It's kind of a one-off. They do that class, they have a project, and then they graduate, and then you have another class the next year. So they've graduated and moved on.
okay.
But let me think about that.
Yeah. Other new business discussion items?
Yes, I am head over heels throwing myself into this watershed issue, and I think it affects Berkeley Orchard a lot more than the plans currently account for. Not that I've seen the plans, or do we even have plans?
All we have is conceptual plans. Before we get too far into the weeds about planting, meadows, plantings and all of that, I'd like for that trail to be built, because
Right.
whatever we do, there's a good chance it'll get destroyed by construction.
Yes,
Which
sir.
is something that I battle daily. So I want that to happen first,
Mm-hmm.
but
The Green Crescent Tree?
yes.
My
Yeah.
concern is that what actually might be needed there is stream restoration. And I think the stream restoration should come before the trail being built. Because I've been walking it, we actually planted it, put a marker in to show the erosion, and marked it, and I mean, just in a couple months since I was there, when you helped it, I mean, there's a lot of erosion happening in that stream. So there,
Same with Toddy's place. I mean, it's,
this whole watershed really needs a good bit of work before we start building infrastructure that might need to get moved if we're bringing in heavy equipment and whatnot to actually repair the stream.
that would be an Ethan Barnett and engineering. I'd be glad to participate in that, but that would also be, how is it going to be funded? What exactly is it going to look like? So that would be a whole other planning process with a budget.
Yes.
So be happy to bring that up to those guys.
Do we have approval and funding and all of that? Like, is it already in the works to build this trail?
No.
Okay. I just didn't want to
Preliminary, all of this is just preliminary.
Okay.
Remember, the next two steps on the Green Crescent Trail is to repurpose Berkeley Road, which is already paved.
Right.
And then the trail from Nettles to Toddy's place would come after that, which would include this, but we haven't even done Berkeley yet, which we were hoping would happen 2025. So yeah, new trail is down a piece.
Right. So I'm just wondering how to get more involved with the whole planning process with the city and the engineers and all of that, so I can bring, because I'm working on a write-up right now to bring this whole watershed issue.
There's a planning commission,
Okay.
which you can attend. It's listed on the city website. You can volunteer to be on it when there are openings.
Please, 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 run this stuff by Ethan. He is he came and visited us. He is the guy. One thing that I really don't like is when things happen or things are talked about and the right people are not in the room, and that happens more often than needs to happen. So please involve him in the discussions. And he is a great, as you can see, he's a great guide for what's being done and what can be done. So any of that stream restoration would be through him, and then it would have to be approved by DES and the Corps, since it is a blue line stream. So we'd have to get a permit from DES for any kind of land, and then, of course, the Corps would have to approve. So you'll have to come up with a plan and a site plan for exactly what's going to happen there.
Right. So, but before we could do that, because it does take work, we would need to get the city to, approve doing all the work that it takes to make a plan.
Yeah, and that would be Ethan, and see, that would come out of his budget, and that's the kicker.
Gotcha.
Do you remember he was here last month?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
He's not that old.
I've been emailing him. He's just, I've probably sent him too many emails while he's on vacation. But, yeah, so,
He seems to want to work with us.
Yeah.
yeah,
The budget's going to be a big deal there.
budget, right. And so that's where I'm hoping these grants and stuff will help. And actually, I've got a professional, like, Rosjan, stream restoration guy, like, doing a lot of volunteering. I mean, we've met at Clemson Downs, we met with Gladys and John, and walked and talked about the main issues and planned where to do some live staking. So we're doing the live staking for now, just to try and help, which does not require a permit.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of live stakes disappear at Toddy's.
Really?
Oh, yes.
How do you mean?
The erosion.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's really bad.
Have you talked with Cal Sawyer?
I've talked with him, not about this project, but about Honeycutt.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll have to rope him into this and see what he thinks.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Since this is all new to me, I'm just curious, the old ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure kind of thing. At what point when you say, wow, the road is washed away? Because some of the creeks are getting that bad. If you go now this is on private property, but Country Walk, their asphalt trail, is about to be undercut by what appears to be where a stream is now cutting a new side channel. And so these rain events are really hammering. And I don't walk other areas of the city, so I can't speak to those, but just in the one little place I'm at, it's like, at some point somebody's gonna have to say, well, it's washed away, now what do we do? And so I don't know, obviously if it's on private property, that's a whole different thing than the city of Clemson's responsibility, but as far as a bigger, how to address just what's going on throughout our area, is there organization that kind of looks at that?
Carolina Clear looks at some of that.
Okay.
And then Pickens County, who is the government agency in Pickens County?
I just had the name. There is a watershed consortium of
Okay.
Pickens County and Anderson County. And I've been looking through their documents about how they've assessed these local watersheds, Gold Creek, 18 Mile, and 12 Mile.
Yeah, Ethan mentioned a bunch of organizations. I don't know if we have that in the minutes, but.
Yeah, did we ever get that?
I haven't got those documents from Ethan.
Okay. I'll send him another.
Don't blame Ethan.
No, thank you.
Let me send him one. It's my turn.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Any other new business? I can accept a motion to adjourn as new business as well, if there's nothing else.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Thank you very much for coming, and we